Good morning and welcome. Craig Sullivan here at CLIC Connect. And guess what? I've got two guests in the studio today. We've got Oliver Shah and Sachin Shah from Atlas Hospitality, the market leader in California hotel sales. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you?
Beautiful. Thank you very much for having us.
Very good.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah.
So, Oliver, let's start out with you. Please tell the one or two people in the audience who don't know who you are, and what you do, please.
Okay, my name is Oliver Shah. I'm with Atlas Hospitality. I am a hotel broker. We started the company in 1997. We specialize in the sale of hotels, motels, anything that's a lodging property. And we've been doing it for about pretty much almost 25 years now.
Nice.
So, so that's pretty much it. That's all we do.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sachin, how about you? Introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Thank you. My name is Sachin Shah with Atlas Hospitality Group. My cousin Oliver introduced me to this back in 1996. We started Atlas Hospitality in 1997, and we never looked back.
There you go. I love it. Now, Oliver, you're the most prolific hotel broker in the state of California. And Sachin, you're always a top producer over at Atlas Hospitality. So, Oliver, let's start with you. What are you guys seeing in the California hotel market?
Oh, it's a very broad question.
Let's define it a little bit more. What are you seeing for sales right now?
So, believe it or not, last year Atlas did about 30 some transactions.
Nice.
I personally did 27, so I was paid on 27 of the deals. But it was probably my fourth best year. Another guy at our company was his best year. I think Sachin had a very good year last year too. So even though interest rates creeped up in the last second half of last year, there's still a lot of money out there. And interest rates being where they're at, I still believe they're not high. When I started in this business 27 years ago, we used to underwrite deals at anywhere from an 8 to a 10% interest rate. In fact, I used to underwrite deals that was at 10 cap.
Right.
And, I think it all changed in the last cycle. I think it was 2010, the last great recession, whatever you want to call that recession. Once interest rates started to go low, cap rates became low. But I think, what we are seeing is we're seeing a shift in cap rates. The fortunate thing is that lenders understand that. And I think now the marketplace is understanding that too, that this is not a temporary change. It's a permanent change.
Yeah.
We're not going to go back to 4%, 5% interest rates for hotels. Lodging, I think, is going to, we'll probably see rates go up to 10% before they stabilize in a few years down to 7 to 8 is what my guess is. But we're not going to see 4, 5, or 6% long-term financing ever again.
I agree with you on that. And I think, we've got a couple of generations that have now seen interest rates on commercial assets, hospitality in particular, that were basically a home loan rate. And those days are gone. I hate to burst your bubble, but those are gone. I think we've got to be more realistic. And I think that your underwriting is going to reflect that. And if it's a good deal, it's a good deal. And when I got into the business, we were at 17, 18, 19%. We started seeing exotic instruments coming in, the land contract, more leasing, certainly, the all-inclusive deed of trust. And my feeling's always been this: if you're in single digits, that's a good loan. When it starts creeping into double digits, not so good. But, Sachin, what are your views on the financing part of it right now? How's that affecting your sales?
I echo Oliver's comments. But for me, what I see is we have to look for the needle in the haystack, right? There's still people with money. There's still people that want to sell. and we got to look for the people that are not money motivated to sell.
Yeah.
And that reflects with the buyer with regard to, hey, who's your seller? That's who you're buying from.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it a deal.
There you go. So guys, buying, selling hotels, other than the interest rates, how have those dynamics changed in 2023? You started to touch on that divide between buyer and seller, that gap's closing. So what are the dynamics now?
Well, I mean, the gap is closing, but we're having pretty good success. I'm just, our job, a broker's fiduciary duty is to not necessarily get the seller's highest price, but is to ask the seller what he wants. And he says, I want it sold. So I usually ask the seller, well, what's more important to you, price or guaranteed sale? And they say both. And I say, look, that doesn't exist. You got to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And if they say, I want the property sold, those are the sellers that we want. And we've pretty much been doing business like that forever. And, it comes down to, not being a order taker broker. You have to basically tell your client what the hotel is worth. And today a hotel is worth a cap rate that is higher than the lowest interest rate that you can borrow at. There's some people that have very high deposit relationships that can still borrow money at maybe 6 to 6.5%.
Right.
And I could definitely help people out with referrals to some of those banks on a long-term basis. But, we're talking, at least 1 point higher on a cap rate. And that's on a performing deal. Okay. Another thing that's changed is the projection-based deals.
Right.
Are not going to happen anymore unless they're happening in an ocean front property or a coastal location. There are some people right now that are in 1031s that are buying coastal, but then again, that's 1031 money.
Right.
So what I'm seeing is new money transactions are people are underwriting stuff at 8 cap, 9 cap, and 10 cap. And
prudent thing to do right now.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to add to is, moving forward, some people are not going to like this, but this is reality, is certain markets like Napa, like Sonoma, certain rural markets, we're going to start underwriting these deals at a higher cap rate because there's a very good chance that Napa, Sonoma, and some of these markets, you're going to have a fire every 2 to 3 years over a 10-year period. So unfortunately, these markets are not as valuable anymore. I mean, who wants to go to Napa when it's all smoky? I mean, you have some of the highest end hotels there that are getting $1,000 a night. But, if you have a disruption for 2 months or whatever, or even a few weeks, that could affect your
adverse impact,
your revenue for the year and your bottom line too.
Well, and I'd just like to add, because the dollar is so strong, that it's hard for European countries or foreigners to come into America, right? Before it was 2 to 1, now it's 1 to 1.
Yeah.
So that really drives a big nail into that coffin.
So we've seen a drop in a lot of RevPARs in the last 3 months of 22. Right now, it's too early. January figures are just literally over as of yesterday.
Right.
But from what I see, is January of this year is also going to be slower than January of last year for a lot of markets. So again, people had a good run in 22. Most markets had the best year ever in 22. A lot of markets still haven't come back. Like Anaheim is still not back to where it was pre-COVID.
Right.
San Francisco, Silicon Valley. But then we've had other markets like rural markets and coastal markets that have had their best year ever in 22.
I agree with you. I think you look at California coastal, there's nothing like it. And, the Central Coast has been on fire since COVID. Right. You've got room to spread out there. It's more affordable. It's the family trip. And we've been on, a revenge tour since we were able to start traveling again. So, capital markets, guys, before we start getting into rebranding and all that, community banks, SBA loans. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the capital markets right now?
So, fortunately, I mean, when you ask me what we do, we're hotel brokers, but I mean, that was sort of a very broad answer, but we also do, financing, and we assist clients with financing, and like those markets have changed. So right now, a lot of lenders don't want to touch hotels, and if they do, it's only with a high deposit relationship, and that rate's going to be, anywhere from 6.5 to 8. And then also, SBA is very strict right now. It's almost impossible to get a 504 unless you have guaranteed cash flow, and the DCR is, high.
And so we'd like to say that we have the sources to finance the deals.
We're still financing our deals. We're able to get our deals done. Recourse, of course.
Yeah.
One thing I like to point out is, over 95% of deals we do are full recourse. Actually probably close to 98%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's your, more prudent buyer that, says, yeah, I know how to make this hotel run, and I'm okay with a recourse loan.
Well, the whole point of it is you're going to borrow money from someone, you got to pay it back. So,
Right.
People that we work with are confident people that know that they're going to make it. And if there is a slowdown in the economy, obviously,
And just to add on, we have the deals that will make the buyer feel like he can make it through the rough rounds.
There you go. There you go. Well, and also, I mean, with you guys being the market leaders, you've got all the connections, whether it's a capital source, it's third-party professionals in the hotel sector, it's insurance carriers, it goes on and on. And let's face it, you guys have got a secret weapon, and that's Wilson. Okay. He's watching
He's
every
our glue.
deal, once you've got that signed sales agreement and escrow's open and that deposit's there. So, I don't know any other company that doesn't want a Wilson. Okay.
I hope he's listening to this, because he would really appreciate what you're saying, Craig, but absolutely true.
No.
We get a lot of compliments from our clients that our administration is really good. I mean,
Yeah.
Once we put a deal into escrow, we get all the due diligence from our seller.
Right.
We have our buyers sign off on the documents that they approve everything that they've received. And so that way, we don't have any problems. Knock on wood, we've been in business for 30 years, and we've
There you go.
done a little over 750 transactions, I believe, total.
Nice.
And we've never been sued, put it that way.
There you go. So let's talk about repositioning of hotel assets and PIPs. So every time there's a sale, there's a PIP. Now, are you guys, you're heavily involved with the deal. So what are you doing with that transfer PIP? Are you sitting down and talking to your clients? Are they still viable, or does rebranding an asset in some cases make more sense?
It comes down to the product.
Correct.
A lot of times the clients, we generally like to work with clients that are sophisticated.
Yeah.
Meaning they know how to handle the PIP transfer, or how to handle the PIP. But after selling so many hotels, we pretty much know by just looking at it, regardless of the brand.
Right.
It's pretty easy. You just look at a certain hotel, you look in the market, and you're like, okay, this property needs this much money to be competitive to this marketplace,
And that's
regardless of whether it's a Marriott, Hilton, IHG, Best Western.
That's what
whatever it is.
experience brings into place, is that,
Yeah.
Before you spend the official money as a buyer, your broker, which is us, we're able to tell you approximately the ballpark, what it's going to be.
Right.
And the seller knows that, because, that's how we work.
Right.
So it makes things, not as a discovery stage, but by the time we get to escrow, it's about closing the deal.
Right.
We all do our due diligence up front. We help the buyer do the due diligence up front, make sure they understand what the ins and outs are before it gets to escrow.
So when we were working together, when I was in title, you'd always get, as soon as you got that listing, we'd get you a title report. I'd sit down and go through it. You'd go through it. If there were any hiccups, we'd get it cleaned up before you went to market.
Right.
And that was always, one of those other trump cards that you had in your back pocket. We know what's going on. Seller says he paid the taxes. County showing it delinquent. Okay, we got to do a little research. Okay, let's figure this out. And not give somebody an opportunity, quote unquote, to try and retrade you on the price. So, that's part of being, an outstanding broker and brokerage firm in the hospitality sector. What are some of the other little nuances that you guys do? I mean, obviously a PIP review, what else are you doing to help out both the seller and the buyer on a transaction before you get it into escrow?
I mean, we generally, because we've been in the business for 27 years, I mean, all of us combined, there's, I believe, 8 of us in our office right now, and combined we have about 150 to 160 years experience. And I think all of us have pretty much seen almost every hotel in California.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, when a property comes up for sale, we know more about the property than is sometimes, some cases, the seller. We've sold some hotels 2, 3, 4 times. So
Right.
And we understand the pitfalls,
yeah,
what might be a problem, and we want to make sure we communicate with the seller and the buyer and make sure that we don't like to discover deals
Right.
with our buyers. We
Right.
want to make sure we know the product that we're selling, and based on that, that's how we're able to get the buyers.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why you guys are the best, the market leader.
I mean, I'll give you an example. I don't want to mention
Please.
the hotel or the market.
Yeah, no,
but,
don't.
I sold one hotel 3 times. It was a large property. 18 of the rooms were shut down because it had really bad plumbing problems. It had some issues with, physical issues. Well, we were able to sell it 3 times with those physical issues. And to this day, the property still has 18 rooms that are down.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So now that's something that, so it's funny because the next buyer, the most recent buyer that bought it didn't know that there were these 18 rooms that were out of order, and I told him what was going on. He's like, "Oh, wow, thank you." So it was the 4th time it traded actually, but I wasn't involved in the transaction the 4th time. But
a lot of times we sell it to.
A lot of times guys will just call us, and we're not even involved in the transaction just because they know we know so much about the hotel. Yeah. And so by all means, as an advisory service, that's something that we do. We're happy to advise people. So if a buyer has a property under contract and you really want to know the truth about the hotel, literally you could call Sachin, any one of us at Atlas, and we can look in our database and I can probably read a history of information on the hotel. From
we can let you know.
I can tell you the construction quality,
right,
and how many times it's had major problems.
Renovated.
How many times it's truly been renovated, and what the different brands have been. A lot of times property's been a Holiday Express, and a guy looks at it, he's like, "There's no way that was a Holiday Express." I'm like, "It was a Holiday Express, 10 years ago."
Yeah,
and so we have that information, and so that's all part of our knowledge and advisory services that benefits a buyer and educates the seller. Yeah.
Well, I've been in your office, thousands of times and seen your database and the notes that all of you contribute, not only to the principles but to the asset itself, and it's something to behold. And obviously that's another part of your success. Whether you guys are doing a deal together, one of you's got the seller, the other one's got the buyer, or somebody else in your office does, your communication and your notes are always current. Every time you talk to somebody, you're noting your database as to what's going on. And I think that's almost a lost art with some companies. They just don't understand the value of that. And, it makes you guys that next step up for knowing the property and knowing that, what's going on with it, as you also know all the franchise sales or development people in the state of California. You know, talk a little bit about your interaction with that, would you, Sachin?
Well, so, I mean, thank you. I appreciate what you're saying. So not only are we in touch with buyers, sellers, obviously we have the database with the history of the hotel. We're also very astute about understanding what the redevelopment play might be. We want to make sure how cities are going to be, how,
Right.
what might be the best play for that asset.
Yeah.
And that's not something that you get with, somebody that just wants, oh, look, you want to sell your hotel? We'll sell your hotel. Well, no, you will get a comprehensive understanding of the asset that you have, whether it's something that you can redevelop, whether it's something you sell as is, or put some money into it and make it to someone where they're going to be able to come in and just operate.
There you go. I like that. I like that philosophy a lot. Oliver, what do you think about the franchise teams out there? You're working with them. You're talking to them every day.
Well, yeah, it's really interesting because now everyone has had a choice to work at every company, and it's kind of interesting. So,
Yeah.
which is good because everyone knows each other's job in the franchise industry. So now it's like we pretty much have a relationship with every single guy, so I mean,
We're going to help our buyers and sellers understand what the PIP, quote unquote, might be if you choose to stay with the franchise, if you choose to upgrade, downgrade. We have a very good idea.
Yeah, and there really is, a lot of people are just, what's the word? They're only loyal to one brand,
Right.
and I don't believe that there's one brand that's the best. I think on every single hotel, there's always the right brand.
Yeah.
And in some cases, a lot of hotels don't need a brand. I'm seeing a lot of properties up in the Bay Area, a lot of properties up in coastal market, especially coastal markets.
Coastal markets, yeah.
And smaller properties in downtown locations a lot of times don't need a brand. A lot of the younger generation now are running these properties with their own OTAs, and they don't need a brand. So that's why a lot of franchise companies now are trying to introduce soft brands to try to, compensate the fact that they're losing the mainstream brands to independent operators. And that's, somewhat working. I think we talked about that last year at your show.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more of that. But yeah, that's pretty much what's happening.
That's a great point. And both of you guys, with your experience and tenure in the business, okay, you started out working with mom and pops, and now it's the kids that are running it, and totally different. They maybe went to Collins or Cornell or one of the other hotel schools, and all of a sudden they're coming back with products like the Shore Hotel up in Santa Monica. Okay. Various other boutiques, our friend Dev Patel and what he's done. I mean, he's always my quintessential example of success. And, he's had a phenomenal career. You look at his assets down in San Diego, you look at his assets up in LA and Orange County and beyond. And, some of the new construction he's done, and it's a complete change, but you guys are still relevant because you've changed and you've helped them and you've worked with the families. So how's that change been for you? I know you're still showing, respect and saying hi to mom and pops and talking to them. And now you've got this whole new relationship with the kids. What's that like now?
Well, I'm telling you, that's why we like selling the product we sell. Because once you have a relationship with the mom and pop, unlike an institutional relationship when you have to deal with a director of acquisitions, and that director of acquisitions gets fired or promoted or goes somewhere else or leaves, then you got to start all over with the company.
Yeah.
But with the mom and pop, eventually you have that relationship. The mom and pop does a great job of introducing his kids or her kids to us, and then we develop a relationship with the children.
Right.
And so, I have some relationships that are 30 years old, and I'm still doing business with the siblings. And now the siblings are like, "Hey, I got to introduce you to my son." And I'm like, "Okay." Now I'm getting old. You know? I'm like, "Wait a minute." You know,
Wait a minute. They were
But
just 12. What do you mean they're 20?
Yeah.
Well, look at it,
Yeah.
and the whole, kind of the layout of it is that we deal with principals.
Yeah.
Right. The decision makers.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, God bless the people that have the different, politics in place, but we deal with decision makers.
Right. And you're an intricate part of their growth. And, you take the time to work with them. I've watched both of you, throughout my career. And you're not afraid to say, "Hey, you know what? That may not be the right deal for you. And this is why." And you're an advisor, you're a trusted advisor and part of the family, whether it's a small cap or a mid cap company, and you've helped them reach those goals, and they're, appreciative of that. So last question, guys, before we go into our world famous lightning round. Leadership. What do you want the hotel community to know about yourselves and Atlas Hospitality? Let's start with you, Sachin.
So I would like to say, we take the time to understand our seller. We take the time to understand our buyer. And that's how we're able to put deals together. It's not just, this is what you want, this is what you get.
Yeah.
No, we understand what's going to make the buyer successful, what's going to be successful for the seller to make sure that it closes escrow.
Love it. Oliver?
I guess we pretty much had our third or fourth best year last year ever.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're not marketing ourselves as much anymore, and the reason why is we're such a small office, and it's kind of like, I've been broker of the year for so many years, and I don't do that anymore because we're a small office, and kind of want to create this sort of family atmosphere. So, but we did do over 30 transactions last year. We're just not advertising it, again, for the very reason of we're a very small company. But people know in California what our capabilities are. And, I don't think anyone can match our track record of selling over 700 hotels just in the state of California. So just listen to this. There's about 11,500 lodging properties in the state of California. And Atlas has sold approximately 750 in the last 20 some years. So you divide that number, into 11,500, about 1 in 18 to 1 in 19, every hotel lodging property in California has our name on it.
Right.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And that's,
I love it.
with California being the fourth largest economy in the world, pretty much the most important state in the country. Let's face it, New York used to be the financial capital in the world. It still is, but it doesn't need to be. It used to be the show capital of the world. It's not anymore. The weather there is not that nice. The West is decadent. You have the path to Asia and everything. I truly believe this is the best place to live in the whole country. And,
we're focused.
Just in California.
Yeah.
So if you truly are a seller and you want to sell in California, there's no match, unless, I can't win. We cannot win everyone's relationship. We can't win, everyone's business.
Right.
Based on our track record. But, we're likable. Again, we have a new office at Newport Beach at MacArthur and campus. It's a nice Irvine Company building. Never thought we'd ever have Irvine Company as a landlord because they're the most expensive landlord to have. But we got a really good deal because there are a bunch of vacancies everywhere, And no, I mean, it's a beautiful building. And so come by. We have a nice, very social atmosphere in there.
We'd love to show you how we work.
Yeah, we'd like to show you how we work. Come on by. We have a nice bar over there. We have some, a lot of wine. If you like wine, you want to eat, we can have lunch there. We got a restaurant downstairs. So come on by and, say hello.
There we go. All right. Now it's time for the lightning round, guys. Producer Danny's going to put 2 minutes on the clock. Word association, just the first thing that pops into your head. And Oliver, we'll start with you, go to Sachin, and then back to you. Okay? So producer Danny's keeping score to see who gives us the best answers. You got to do this in less than 2 minutes, starting now. Conferences.
CLIC.
Absolutely need to attend.
Repositioning hotels.
Motel 6.
Understand the product you have.
Best market in California.
Coronado.
San Diego.
Favorite airport.
Orange County.
Orange County.
Barefoot people on an airplane.
Not cool.
Appreciate it.
Aisle or window.
Depends whether COVID is still around or not.
Aisle, for sure.
Favorite color.
I like your color in here. I'm going to say pink.
Red.
Tequila or whiskey.
Oh, that's a tough one because I like Japanese whiskey, but I like tequila too. So I'm going to go with whiskey.
I'm in with gin.
There you go. Favorite hotel or resort.
I still like the Mauna Kea in Hawaii on the Big Island.
There you go.
I like the Glorieta Bay in San Diego.
There you go.
2023.
A new year for us to prove that we can still rock.
Excellent year. The needle's smaller, the haystack's bigger, but they're out there.
Perfect. Hey, you guys did that with 15 seconds left. Congratulations. All right, guys. Thank you for being on Click Connect today.
Thank
I
you.
love
Thank
you
you for having
both,
me.
your brothers. And, you know, we've been through a lot of battles together. We've gotten a lot of deals closed together. And give them a call. They would love to help you. Okay.
Please do.
Thank you.
Before we sign off, Sachin, how can people get a hold of you?
Sachin at atlashospitality.com, 949-622-3405.
Oliver?
Cell phone 714-349-6667 or my email oliver@atlashospitality.com.
And you guys work 24/7. I've
Yes.
called you at all kinds of weird hours, and
Yeah.
you've called me at all kinds of weird
Yeah,
hours. So-
nighttime, Sunday, Saturday, no problem.
Exactly. And I want to thank Oliver, Sachin, Alan, and the rest of the team over at Atlas Hospitality. They've been a founding sponsor of the California Lodging Investment Conference. And
Thank you, Craig.
you can join us on March 1st and 2nd, 2023 for our 6th annual event. What was our VIP mixer will now be open to all registered attendees. So join us. We've got 2.5 hours more networking time the day before. We've got a full day event on the 2nd. We've gone from 4 panels to 3 plus our deal of the year. If you have a new or a deeply renovated and repositioned hotel that opened up between March of last year and February of this year, submit it. Go to our website. Again, the 6th annual California Lodging Investment Conference, March 1st and 2nd, 2023 at the Westin South Coast Plaza Hotel. You can register and get all the details at cliconference.com. And then I want to thank our production partners, our very good friends over at Red Roof Franchising and Chicago Title National Commercial Services Group, California. Without our guests, without you, without them, producer and Danny and I don't have a job. So I want to thank you both at Red Roof Franchising and Chicago Title. And if you're looking for a new brand, call Matt Hostetler over at Red Roof Franchising. It could be a great alternative for you. They'd love to hear from you and let them know that producer Danny and I sent you over there. Every deal, I've been saying this since late last year, is more critical now than ever. You've got to get it closed on time, okay? You've got to meet your deadlines and exceed expectations and close. These two guys can tell you how critical it is. They can tell you what it's like to get a deal closed now. Chicago Title's National Commercial Services Group has launched a hotel practice within the group. So you've got Ryan Huntsman, you've got Steven Seft, and you've got Stephanie Zapalak in there, and their team is growing and they are closing deals. They will take the brain damage out.
And to add
for
to
you.
that, we just moved all of our business over there. In fact, they're over at our office right now meeting with Justin and Wilson.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yep.
Yep.
That's great. So, guys, with that, we've come to the end of this episode. I thank my brothers for joining me today.
Thank you for having
It's
me.
a
Thank you,
pleasure. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Producer Danny, thank you for always doing an outstanding
Thank you, Danny.
job.
Thank you,
And
Danny.
we will see you next week. Thank you.